Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
Peacemaker and a unifier. My administration will be known, will be a peace through strength guy, will keep us safe, but I will be known by the wars we get out of and the wars we don't get into. And I'll just clap. I was clapping alongside that. On January 20th, 2025, when he made that comment, I was enthusiastically supportive. I'm like, this is why I voted for him in 2016, because he was saying then, no more stupid wars. Let's get out of the ones we have. And now here he came back in saying the same kind of thing. President Trump went on the offensive in the campaign as far back as 2023, when he said, I will have this Russia-Ukraine war wrapped up on day one. Just on the 24 hours, I'll have this done. I know President Putin. I know President Zelensky. I can get these guys together. I can work with it. I can get it done. And I was thinking, okay, that's what I want to see. That there's a lot of issues that go into who you vote for at any one given time, but on that particular issue, I'm very much supportive of President Trump. And compared to what his opponent was saying, started off being Biden, and then of course went to Kamala Harris. They were saying, as long as it takes, we'll just keep on giving Ukraine stuff here, even though, as I had been saying from day one, that there was no military solution for Ukraine. They could never defeat the Russian side there. All they're going to do is kill more people, lose more land and more cities for Ukraine in the process. So if that was President Trump's intention, I was all for that. And listen, I was never under any delusions that he was going to physically get it done in 24 hours. But what I chose to interpret, might even be a charitable way to put it, that he was going to, on the first day in office, going to set his mind to doing whatever it took to end that war and to bring it to an end. That was possible. That was within his power. He could have done that. You've seen Doug McGregor on my show many times talk with policies, how he could have done it, which is just to say to Ukraine side, to the European side, folks, for these 12 reasons I could list, or 112 reasons, I could have provided quite a bit for him if he would have liked to have them. This cannot be won militarily. Ukraine cannot defeat the Russian side. They cannot inflict a strategic defeat on Moscow. All they're going to be doing is continuing to die like they have for the 3 years prior to my ascension into office. I am not going to be like my predecessor. I'm not going to be like you guys. You could have said it more diplomatically. And I am not going to reinforce failure, and I'm not going to take action that I know morally is repugnant, because all it will do is get more Ukrainian people killed. I'm not going to be a participant in that. So I will give a certain period of time, 30 days, 60 days, something like that, where we're going to continue on here, and then the support will stop. Our troops will be withdrawn. Anybody that we're helping will be done. We will give you no more information. So that gives you enough time to do whatever you have to do to end this war, to seek the best negotiated terms you can get from Putin, given the circumstances and given the situations here. But if you choose not to, if you choose to fight, that's on you. You're a sovereign country. You can do that. You're a sovereign, made up of sovereign countries. Y'all can do whatever works for you. We're not going to do it. And then you would have put the onus on them to either acknowledge reality for the first time or continue going down the path and lose quicker, because then you wouldn't have either the psychological support of the U.S. or the physical support. That's what I was hoping that Trump would do, because he said he was so motivated by the killing, this unnecessary killing, as am I. As I've mentioned to you many times, that's one of my primary drivers. But that's a primary driver connected to and directly coordination with an acknowledgement of ground truth reality. That seems to be lacking in the current president. So he says, and you saw on that opening statement there from his inauguration speech, he wants to be the peace president. That he wants to have his administration characterized by the wars he ends and as much by the wars he doesn't start. Is that the case now, more than 4 months in, only 4 months in to his first term in office? Because the record doesn't look that good, folks. there's some real problems here. And Caroline Leavitt, actually, his spokeswoman, just not long ago, a week or so, I think, away, she's still using this term, I don't know, like he's trying to get this Nobel Peace Prize or something. So she's like going to help him out with some stuff like this.
President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect to Iran, nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. With respect to Russia and Ukraine, because of that American strength and the president's leadership, we have seen these two sides engage in direct negotiations. And the last time the president said 2 weeks, you saw Russia and Ukraine have direct negotiations for the first time in years. And so the president is always interested in a diplomatic solution to the problems and the global conflicts in this world. Again, he is a peacemaker in chief. He is the peace through strength president. And so if there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it. But he's not afraid to use strength as well, I will add.
Yeah, but is he afraid to grab it? Because he wants to be the peacemaker in chief. That's what she said a week ago, folks. So, and as evidence, she wants to tell you, yes, I mean, look, if there's anything about diplomacy, he's all about it. And these people have come together under him. And that's technically true. They did. Because under the Biden administration, nobody was talking to anybody, which was a shame on our country and on our administration. And I have bent over backwards to give the current administration plenty of credit for breaking from that bad policies in the past and actually talking to Putin, talking to him on the phone, talking to Zelensky, trying to get them together, etc. That's about the extent of it, though, because while words matter, they don't matter anything if they're not backed up with concurrent actions. They have to match. Your words and your actions have to match, or we have to default to your actions. Then the words don't matter at all. I could care less what you're saying with your mouth if the actions don't follow through. In those cases, all we're going to do is go to the actions, and the actions say, I don't want to end anything. President Trump has the power at his disposal without having to worry about what anybody else says or thinks, that he could have put significant pressure on the Western side to reach an accommodation. If he actually believed what he said, that he was motivated by various numbers, 5,000, 6,000, whatever killed per week, and this, and these beautiful boys, and all these, he said, dying on both sides, all the civilians that were dying, the buildings that were being blown up, if that was really motivating him, as he said, then he would have realized that the most logical, rational, moral, and humanitarian thing he could have done was to say, no more. We are not, it's akin to saying, how dare you suggest that? Because to say that Trump should walk away while they're at war they would say that's immoral. It's almost the same thing as if you see a guy who's laying in the gutter and is high on heroin or something, just absolutely addicted to heroin. And now he's in withdrawal symptoms and he's begging you for more. And you say, well, okay, I'm gonna give you another hit. I'm gonna pay for another hit there, knowing that that's going to make him feel good for a few hours, but then it's not going to do anything because, it's going to deepen his addiction. And you see, he's not going to ever get out of this. And until you have that tough love and say, oh, I'm cutting that off, folks, I'm going to stop doing that. And I'm not going to feed your addiction because it's going to destroy you. That's what a rational thing to do. This is where tough love comes in. This is where hard decisions in real world matter, because you could have ended that war. But instead, we have continued to fund it. And now then, in this coming $1 trillion defense budget that we're trying to get done here, we're saying there's going to be less money for Ukraine. Well, why is there going to be any money for Ukraine? Why is there going to be any more? Because on the one hand, you're telling me you're trying to negotiate an end to this, and yet on the other hand, you're not doing anything to negotiate an end, because the leverage you have, you won't use. And in fact, it's the equivalent of giving that guy another heroin hit. That's what you're doing in the 2026 federal budget. All right, here's some more heroin. It's not a lot, but it's enough to give you a high for a little bit of time. And Trump was at the NATO meeting at The Hague where Zelensky was. And Trump has been saying some nice things about him of late. We had that blow up in the Oval Office in February. And I thought, all right, that's going to be the end of it now. He's probably going to be mad for nothing else. And now he's going to take this action. And his primary guy that works with the Ukraine side, General Keith Kellogg, his emissary to Ukraine, said at first, right before the inauguration, he said about 100 days we should probably have this wrapped up. I'm professional, and I think that's a good amount of time. Obviously, 100 days came and went, and then in April you had Secretary of State Rubio. You had a number of other senior officials that said, "Hey, folks, we're days away from walking. We're days away." And again, I thought, okay, belatedly, he's finally going to do it. Now people are going to wake up, and then those days passed, and then they turned into weeks, and then the weeks passed, and now they're into months. And then Trump said, all right, well, about 2 weeks. We're going to know in 2 weeks if it happens. And then those weeks passed. And then on, I think it was May the 4th, he went on NBC News and was asked about the previous ones with Secretary Rubio, and he added this.
How long do you give both countries before you're going to walk away?
Well, there'll be a time when I will say, okay, keep going, keep being stupid.
When does that come? Are you close to it?
Sometimes I get close to it and then positive things happen. Okay?
What's the red line for you? At what point do you say, that's it, we're walking away?
Well, you'll know. I mean, there'll be a time when I may say that. And if I do, there may be something I can't, maybe it's not possible to do. There's tremendous hatred, just so you understand. Kristen, we're talking tremendous hatred between these two men and between, some of the soldiers, frankly, between the generals. They've been fighting hard for 3 years. I think we have a very good chance of doing it.
I think we have a very good chance of doing it. He just tags after saying all this stuff about, there's a lot of hate going on there. And of course, I'm listening to that even at the time when it happened. I'm like, you're just figuring that out, that there's a lot of hate? I mean, we kind of know that already. Surely before you entered office and made these declarations about how you were going to have this over in 24 hours, you had some idea that there was a lot of hatred going on between the two sides. So that shouldn't be new. And then just say, yeah, but then something positive happens. And then instead of walking, I just keep wondering, and where's that red line? Look, if you wanted to end the war, you would end the war. There's no new information here. There's no fundamental information that you have gotten or that you can get that's not readily available for everything that's already happened over the last 3.5 years. That then leads to the conclusion you don't want the war to be over, because now here we are. Let's see. I think we have one more soundbite. Yeah, let me pull this one up here, because this was at the NATO summit. So I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was even today. Yeah, I think it was yesterday as we're recording this here. This is where we are now.
So my question to you is whether or not the U.S. is ready to sell anti-air missile systems Patriot to Ukraine. We know that Russia has been pounding Ukraine really heavily right now.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you very, it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
there now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough stuff, right? That's tough. And you're living here?
In Warsaw.
And you're a reporter?
I am.
Good. So let me just tell you, they do want to have the missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available. They're very hard to get. We need them too. We were supplying them to Israel, and they're very effective, 100% effective. Hard to believe how effective. And they do want that more than any other thing, as you probably know. That's a very good question, and I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay?
Say hello to your husband? I mean, I wish you a lot of luck. You know that Secretary of State Rubio said in testimony last month, we don't have any more to give. He keeps asking for them because he keeps needing them every day, because Russia's air campaign that they've been doing for a better part of 2.5 years continues to go on, and the drones and the missiles keep getting through. And then to just kind of casually say, yeah, they're 100% effective. Well, obviously they're not 100% effective. We see it with our own eyes every single day in both Ukraine and in Israel. They're not 100% effective. They're pretty good against some categories and hardly good at all against other categories of missiles that the opponents have. That's the first point. But the bigger point is, this is now, that was yesterday, so the 25th of June. You were inaugurated on the 20th of January, talking about you were going to get this done in a day. And now here, you still don't have anything done. You still haven't used your leverage. So now then we have to conclude, you don't want this war to be over. this whole thing about peacemaker and peacemaker chief and peace president and the Nobel Peace Prize. You've had every opportunity in the world to do it, and he's not taken it. So the words just cannot be taken at face value anymore. We have to default now to the actions, and the actions say that we just want the war to continue on. Because there is no matter what, there's going to be no change in this. There still is no path. Even if President Trump said, take all of our ammunition, take all of our tanks, all that stuff, that's not going to change anything. So that wouldn't even help, because it's a manpower issue at the heart of it. Plus, the Russians have more than enough ammunition to counter all of these things anyway. It might slow down the victory for the Russian side, and even then it might not, but it definitely won't change it. So by President Trump continuing to go down this path of saying the two sides have to come together, they have to agree with something, and yet take no action to facilitate that on the one side, on the side that is the powerless, or is it the deficit of power, that it has some capacity, but it's not enough to reverse tide. It's not. It's never going to be. And so to just keep punting it down the road and wishing good luck to the wives of those who are still dying in combat, I think is terrible. But that's not the actions of a peacemaking president. There is so little actual diplomacy going here. There's been some talks and some phone calls, but that doesn't work for diplomacy. That can lead to diplomacy, but only if it's taken advantage of. But there hasn't been. In fact, there's just been a number of calls. It's just been sort of sporadic. It's like throwing a dart at the wall and then walking over the wall and drawing a target around it and saying, yeah, that hit the square in the bullseye. You don't even know what you're shooting for. So you'll hit something, but you don't have any idea. There's no plan. There's no core strategy that's involved. And so you're not putting any pressure on the Ukraine side to reach a negotiated settlement. You're continuing to give them ammunition to some degree, which again, it's like heroin to an addict. It's enough to keep him surviving for now, slowing the rate of his death, but it's not enough to reverse anything, because there is no amount that's going to reverse it. That's not a peacemaking president. I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch how this stuff unfolds. And that's terrible that people are dying. I see the videos every day. It's awful. You'll see the photographs. Anyway, here, have a few more missiles. That's all we got to give you. And then you don't do anything. So by definition, you are not a peacemaker in chief. You're not going to get a Nobel Peace Prize, because there's no peace to have. And so that leaves the Russians frustrated, because they thought maybe you were going to have a negotiated settlement, that you were going to reach some kind of agreement. And they were very crystal clear and consistent what their terms were from the beginning. We've talked about them 1,000 times. I don't need to repeat them here, but they haven't changed on that. And they have said, from their UN ambassador to Sergei Lavrov and to the President Putin himself on numerous occasions recently, we will either get a negotiated settlement on the ground on terms that we're willing to accept, or we'll just keep rolling on the battlefield until we win. That's just what he said, and that's what they're doing. They're doing exactly what they said they're going to do, and that's how it's going to work out. At some point, there's probably going to be the collapse of the Ukraine army. Don't know how long that's going to happen. It could be another 6 months. It could be another 6 weeks. It could be another year. I doubt it could go much longer than that, because the fundamentals involved here probably couldn't go much longer than that. But it could go that much longer, but it won't change the outcome. And if you're a peacemaker president, you would take action based on that reality. Now, that was part of the equation there, when President Trump, wanted to be the peacemaker in chief and bring the two warring sides together. The other thing he said at the beginning, that he wants to be known as, is his administration to be known as the wars that he doesn't start. That's what he said. I want to be known as much for the wars I end, which he hasn't, as much as for the ones I don't start, which he now may have. It remains to be seen where this one goes, but the Iranian situation. President Trump has, since 2018, since he was elected in 2016, has said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That is accurate. He has indeed said that. There is no basis in either international law or the U.S. Constitution or American law that would authorize him as the commander-in-chief to take action on that, because he doesn't like them having a nuclear weapons program. Besides the fact that there is no nuclear weapons program, and there hasn't been since 2003. So the very claim that they can't have a nuclear weapons program, that's like telling a guy who doesn't have a bottle of water that you can't have a bottle of water. If you hang on to it, I'm going to kill you. And the guy's going, dude, I don't have a bottle of water. I don't have a nuclear weapons program. So what do I have to not have? And he just keeps repeating it over and over. Now, of course, we know This is absolutely compelled upon President Trump and imposed terribly by the Israeli leader, Benjamin Netanyahu. And Naftali Bennett, we've shown you the former prime minister, many other ministers, Americans, Mark Levin being a big one. Let's see, Lindsey Graham being another big one. Let's see, Senator Tom Cotton being another one. Jack Keane, former general. So Trump is getting it both from his inner circle as well as from the Israeli side. No, you got to go kill him. You got to take care of that. You got to keep saying our national security is involved. It's not, never has been, and it's not now. And now then, here we go. President Trump, just a couple of days ago, went from the wars that he didn't want to start to one that he did.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
Yeah, and a lot easier. I mean, doesn't that just sound like the peacemaking president, the peacemaker in chief, Nobel Peace Prize laureate? I mean, isn't that what it says? I mean, this is a guy that said, I want to be known for the wars I don't start. Now, whether this does start a war is not going to depend on us, because that power to determine left his hands when he gave the order to launch the button to send all those missiles down range. It's up to the Iranian side right now. Maybe they respond, maybe they don't, but it will only be because we're lucky, because they in their own calculations say that it's still in our interest not to go to war with the United States and not to respond in kind. So we'll see where that ends up going. That show is far from over. I think Colonel Doug McGregor, while I've been here in the UK, had a show on where he says it ain't over yet. So we'll see what happens. I agree that this is far from over or decided. We'll see how it works out. But if it doesn't end to war, it's only going to be because what someone else chose not to do, not because of our actions, because our actions historically have been black and white, flat out an act of war. You attacked another country, you destroyed their military capacity, or at least you attacked it, flat out, period. That's an act of war. No one can claim otherwise. What people do claim otherwise, though, is that, yeah, but it doesn't matter because we're the United States and we decided they can't have a nuclear weapon. And that's where the conversation stops for them right there. They say, no, we gave them a chance. I don't know how many times I saw this on so-called experts on almost all these different networks saying, yeah, Trump gave him 60 days, man. He bragged about it himself. And then on day 61, here comes the Israeli attack. And then now here comes our attack on the 21st, I guess, of June. There is no law on the planet that says that any other powerful country can just decide on its own what another country can or can't do, and then say either you get rid of this capacity because I don't like it, even though you don't actually have a bomb capacity, you don't actually have a bomb network, but just get rid of it, or I'm going to come kill you. And then they take action on that and do try to destroy it. There is no law on the planet that does that. There's nothing in the UN Charter, there's nothing in the United States Constitution, and there's nothing in United States law, the 1973 War Powers Act. And so I've heard all kinds of pundits who love this on the United States side, Mark Levin being one of the chief. They'll just dismiss it left and right, say, oh, that doesn't apply, whatever, because you don't want it to apply. I've also heard some folks say, oh, yeah, but see, the 1973 War Powers Act does give the president 60 days to go do. No, it doesn't. You only say that because that's what you hear repeated on the news. But if you actually read the damn thing, you'll see that it says no such thing. The only place that 60 days even comes into conflict is that if you have to use force on the only 3 agreed reasons, the only 3 authorized reasons, then you have 60 days to report and all that other stuff. The reporting thing does exist, but it is absolutely crucial to understand that the law says that the president can only use military power if the U.S. is attacked or its military is attacked, U.S. or its military is attacked, whether the Congress has declared war or the Congress has given specific statutory authorization, i.e. an AUMF, et cetera, like they did in 2003. Now, I think that would be bad, but that's how if you want to follow the law, that's where you got to go. None of those things existed. No congressional authorization. Iran didn't attack anybody. We attacked them. So that is a direct and total violation of law. It's a total violation of the UN Charter that we're signatories to. It's a violation of the NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which we're also a signatory to. We don't care about any of that stuff. That is not the act of a peacemaker in chief. That is not the act of somebody who wants to be known as a peace president, who doesn't want to start wars. He has literally done the thing that he told us all during the whole 2024 campaign season that he did not want to do, and why he warned us so many times. Trump and many of his campaign allies warned us that voting for Kamala Harris is a vote for war, but voting for Trump is a vote for peace. That's what we were told so many times. And yet, those words were important if they were acted on, but they're not acted on here. And again, you can be one of those that hates Iran, and I know there's a lot of people that do. But what you can't do is you can't say and twist it and manipulate it into something that violates, that doesn't violate U.S. law, international law, or the U.S. Constitution, which you claim to want to uphold, which you claim that he's the defender of, and yet he has absolutely thrown it in the trash and just doesn't care. There was no congressional authorization. There was no declaration of war per the U.S. Constitution. So ergo, no matter what, there is no justification for this, i.e., this is not the peacemaker in chief. Sorry, Caroline Leavitt, but you're wrong. He's not. Your words to the contrary are irrelevant because his actions trump, pardon the pun, your claims. With his own actions, he forfeits everything he ran on and he undercuts everything you said. So all these people that keep going back over and over and saying all this stuff about how he's the peacemaker, he's not, because every chance he's had to get rid of the one war he inherited between Russia and Ukraine that we were supporting, and the not starting a new one against Iran, not getting this big, beautiful deal that he claimed since 2018, that by getting out of the previous nuclear deal that the Obama administration had started, now then he's forfeited all that too. So he's the one that set this in motion in 2018. He claimed he got out of it to get a better deal. When he had a chance to get a deal, he forfeited that too because he didn't want a deal. He had a chance to have a negotiated settlement. The Iranians signaled very clearly they were willing to negotiate on nearly everything except this issue of the reprocessing capacity. They're willing to constrain it significantly, get down to the 3.67, and they would require themselves to stay down there, i.e. for peaceful purposes, and to have the inspections, to have American inspections, all kinds of things they agreed to. But we added in a red line that said, no, it has to be zero. There's no validation for us to make that demand. You can want it, but you don't have the authority. You don't have the legal authority to compel it or to go try and kill them if they don't do it. That's the mark of someone who wants wars to happen. That is the mark of someone who may have started a war. And again, it will only be because someone else chose not to have it, chose not to start it because of our actions. We are absolutely open to that right now, and it may still come. I care about the truth. I care about what's right, and I care about the rule of law. I care about keeping us safe. I'm all for strong national defense. I am all for let's keeping us safe. Let's have a well-funded, a well-resourced, and a well-trained army, somebody that has got enough people in it to actually defend our borders, to defend ourselves against attack from any quarter that may come. That is crucial to me. I spent most of my adult lifetime in the military, fought in 4 combat deployments. I haven't backed off of that at all. I'm not a peacenik, or I'm not an anti-war guy, right? I'm not. I'm for sane foreign policy and a law-abiding country that defends our interests without unnecessarily antagonizing others and supporting wars that we should never support, that can't be won, so that the alleged side we're for is destroyed and killed. And whole generations of men wiped out so that their future is going to be decades, multiple decades into the future before there's any chance to come in. That is shameful and will be an enduring blight on American government, not just this administration, but the previous one as well. I want to see some changes, and I am damn tired of the way things are going on right now. And then the words that we keep using, parroting, things that like the Constitution and, peace and all this kind of stuff, when every action is the opposite. That's where we are, folks, and that's what you need to understand here. And we're going to continue being unintimidated and uncompromised to bring you the truth, even when it's unpleasant for a lot of good patriotic Americans, because there's a lot of people that believe in Trump and will hate to hear this message. I don't mean to make anybody upset. I'm sorry if it does make you upset, but you need the truth. And the words that your candidate is saying, and the words that the president that you voted for is saying, are not lined up with his actions. He could end the one war very quickly, and he could have definitely not started the second one, and yet his actions have done the opposite. We'll wait and see how it's going to work out. Thank you very much for being with us today, folks. We always appreciate you. Be sure and like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you very soon on the Daniel Davis Deep Dive.